Good morning, everybody. Mark Finan here in the home weather office on this Wednesday morning. It is now the 4th day of December, 2024. This is the morning briefing coming to you from the home weather office. And as I look out the window, boy, it's another beautiful day. We're going on now a week of some really nice days, cool mornings, nice afternoons with valley temperatures getting into the 60s. And over the next few days, it does look as though we are going to see more dry weather. However, there are going to be a few changes, especially into the weekend. I'll talk about that, and we'll also take a look ahead to our next chance of rain. So for those of you that work outdoors, you'll have an idea of how long this dry weather is going to last so you can get projects done and that sort of thing. And I'm not saying that when the models are showing the rain, it's actually going to rain on that day because it's still pretty far out there, but we're pretty confident that we do have dry weather at least up until, well, at least until maybe the end of next week. So I'll show you that here in just a second. But as we start this morning, we do have clear skies in California. It's a good looking day. There is a weather system here off the coast that isn't going to do much for us. I'll show you that with the models here in just a second. But as you can see, throughout California, we are in really nice shape here. And I just expect we'll see sunshine. And after this cool morning, a beautiful afternoon with temperatures getting into the 60s. So let's take a look at the big weather picture here. 500 millibar chart, the flow up around 18,000 feet. Big ridge here over the western states. The weather system I showed you on the satellite is out in here. And that is going to go by to our north. It'll probably spread a few clouds our way over the next couple of days as this goes by, but that's going to be about it. This pattern here is a dry pattern for us. There could be a few showers off to the north as that goes by, and then there's another system that slides by as we head into Friday and Saturday. It's this one here. So as you can see, the ridge is gone. We have a little trough going by to the north. And what that'll do is it'll bring temperatures down. It'll start to get a little bit breezier. There will be some rain up along the state line and certainly into Oregon. Well, let's say south of Redding, there really isn't going to be much. Again, I'll show you that on the models in just a second. But what happens is as that goes by, as we get into what day are we up to here? This is Monday. So Sunday, Monday, we start getting into that north wind again. So that's what kind of happens in the fall and even into this time of year. As we have weather systems go by to the north, they often dip down to our east, and that sets up a north flow, and that's what we'll have is some gusty north winds, likely again on Sunday, Monday. And beyond that, everything just stays pretty quiet. Now, the next chance of something coming our way is this out in here. This model run shows a cutoff low out here, which would bring us a chance of rain. But this is all the way out into the 13th, 14th, 15th of this month. So we're talking about something about 10 days away, which is still kind of out there in a bit of fantasy land. So let me show you that with the way the GFS shows that this morning. And as you can see, we go through the next couple of days with just these dry and rather quiet conditions. Let me just widen this just a little bit for me. All right. And let me move this over just a little bit more. Perfect. And so this is getting into the day on Friday. We'll likely have a few clouds. Here comes that system on Saturday going by to the north. And as you can see, it doesn't do much as it goes by. There's some rain certainly in Oregon, but really not much here. Also notice the pressure gradient is pretty flat, so we don't have much in the way of a wind yet. But then as that system goes by, we start getting more of these isobars that are from the north. So the surface wind goes more or less perpendicular to the isobars, so that sets up a north wind. This is on Sunday afternoon, and that gradient tightens up a little bit more as we head into Monday, the typical downslope winds that we would see in the Feather River and on the west slope of the Sierra. And so Monday looks like a rather gusty day, and then that gradient relaxes as we get into Tuesday. Beyond that, this is next Wednesday, so a week from today, more nice days. And then we get into Thursday, and then here is Friday. That's our next chance of rain. I'll tell you, the models have been going back and forth on this about what this is going to actually look like, but they've all been hinting at something coming our way sometime around the range of 13, 14, 15. So like I said, that's still 9-10 days away. So that's what I was talking about at the beginning. For those of you that work outdoors, You have the next couple of days, and then you probably have at least through next Thursday of dry weather. So for those of you that have projects outdoors, you can get all of that done. And not saying we're going to see rain next Friday and next weekend, 10 days out, but that's what the models are hinting at, that's when we have a possible change to maybe bring us some rain and snow. So yeah, how we feel about 10-day forecasts. We'll just see how that plays out. Another thing I wanted to show you this morning is just how things are going to go across the country, because at this time of year, some of these patterns turn out to be really, really interesting. Let me just widen this out a little bit if I can. There we go. So we make sure we get New England in here. All right, a couple of things I want to point out. This is this morning, deep low up in here. Now, what I want you to pay attention to is this line right here, this purple line. This on the surface charts is the 540 thickness line. You see it right here, it says 5400. We call it the 540 thickness line. So that's usually, in most parts of the country, certainly not here in California, but in most parts of the country, that is kind of the rain snow line. So you can track this to see where the colder air is. And right now it's pretty cold throughout New England and the Great Lakes and all the way up to the Dakotas. South of that, it's not too bad. So that's why with that cold air over the Great Lakes, that's why we continue to have lake effect snow. This is getting into tomorrow, and that continues with another surge of cold air. And look at that, man. So the 540 thickness line here gets pushed all the way down into the Carolinas and then arches back up through the Dakotas, leaving the northeastern part of the country just very, very cold and rather mild and dry throughout the western states. So that's Friday. Now, as we get into next week, watch how the 540 thickness line begins to move off to the northeast, and that gradually sets up some warmer weather back east and will basically shut off all that lake effect snow. Now, so this is getting into Sunday, a little bit of rain coming up from the Gulf, but now another surge of cold air begins to come from the west. So again, watch this 540 thickness line that's up along the Canadian border and then dipping down here into Wyoming and Colorado. And then watch how that cold air, so that's that inside slider that comes down our way. You see the 540 thickness line comes down along the Sierra. We get our north wind here, and that sets up cold air going down through places like Salt Lake and through Denver. And then that sends that cold air all the way down into Arizona and into New Mexico. Well, the eastern part of the country is relatively warm, but watch what happens along this 540 thickness line as this little pulse of energy comes out of the west, starts tapping into some moisture down in here. So now we have the 540 thickness line dipping down into Texas. We have moisture being picked up from the Gulf. And as that rides up the East Coast, notice where the rain snow line is. It's more or less right along that 540 thickness line. This is out into next Thursday. That is a potential nor'easter sort of an event where in New England and along the East Coast, you debate where the rain snow line is, because that throws off all of your snow total forecasts. But I just love the way looking at this, because we get such interesting patterns at this time of year. But you can clearly see here how we have this little pulse of energy coming out of the western states, taps into some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. So you have cold air mixing with warm air coming off the Gulf, turns into a nice little storm. Pretty good gradient here, but this is a week away, so we'll see how that all develops. But either way, it's nice to see how the models handle that. One other thing I wanted to point out is yesterday, well, actually it's still in today, in the Wall Street Journal. If you get the Wall Street Journal, and I'm not sure if you can, if it's, it might be firewalled, paywalled rather, so I'm not sure if you can get it or not. An interesting article about why your weather app is always wrong. I've talked about that, why the apps on your phone aren't always correct. This is a nice article talking about that, and basically what they come to is that the most reliable source is going to be a local National Weather Service app. So using that, but it's not an app. But if you just use the one that comes with your phone and that sort of thing, or if you go to something like AccuWeather or whatever, that they kind of debate, well, what's more accurate. And so they say either a local meteorologist from a TV station or maybe somebody like me, National Weather Service, but just kind of an interesting article. So if you can, search for that article in the Wall Street Journal about weather apps. You might find an interesting reading because it does talk a little bit about modeling it as well. That's everything I've got for you on this Wednesday morning. Make it a great day. I'll talk with you later.